away this year when I was voted section coach of the year, and that was not something that I was expecting. It was not something that some guys go out there and they try to campaign for themselves, and that's not something that I believe in. And it was a big surprise, and it meant a lot to me that my peers felt that I was the coach of the year. You know, let others praise you for doing the good work, and it's going to happen if you're doing it right. Some examples of humility in coaching. I think one of the more famous ones, as a hockey coach myself, I look at this one as a big one, but the 1980 Olympics, Miracle on Ice, Team USA, a bunch of college kids took on a professional team in basically in the Soviet Union and upset them in the medal round. Biggest upset maybe in sports history. Pretty exciting time, and as a coach, I know I would be pretty pumped up. And if we look at the picture on the slide, you see how joyous, not only the fans and the players, but just everybody in general is about that win. It's pretty unbelievable. And I ask, where's the coach? It'd be hard for me to not be on the ice, but after the game, Herb Brooks, famous coach, walked underneath the bleachers, celebrated by himself for a second, walked back out, shook hands, and started preparing for the next game. Knowing that the moment is A, not about yourself, it's about the players, and B, understanding that there's continuing to be a job to be done here. They weren't done. A lot of people think that was the gold medal game, but that was the game to get to the gold medal game. So I think that was a good example of a coach, understanding that, hey, it's not about me. Let them have their moment. This is the kids, and we'll get back to work. There's thousands of examples of humility in the Bible, but the one that I really drew on for this assignment was Jesus on the cross. He loved us so much that he died for us. He endured shame, ridicule, torture, humility, death on the cross. What greater example of humility is there? He did that for us. You talk about thinking less of yourself and more of others. Jesus did that for us, which is, in my eyes, the biggest example, or the best example of humility that I can come across. So how do you teach humility? How do we get our kids to put others first? In a team aspect, we want our kids to, put the team before themselves, and getting kids to buy into roles is a big thing. But I think it's bigger than that as a coach. We are tasked with cultivating the next generation of athletes, or next generation of leaders in our communities. And if we look at, in teaching character through sport, Bruce Brown gives some great examples of how to teach humility. He uses that Are You an Athlete quiz, which I suggest everybody take a look at it and maybe implement with your teams next year. It's a lot of good stuff in there. But I like this, that few experiences will be helpful in the development of a young athlete than choosing to be a part of a selfless group working toward a common goal. That's life lessons right there. That's what it's all about. Being a part of a great team will be the athlete's best memory, and building great teams will be the coach's greatest legacy. But I want to make sure that we don't get sucked into the winning equals a great team. That's not realistic. Great teams oftentimes don't win every game, but they work together towards a common goal and embrace their role on the team and what they can bring to the table. And that's huge for life in general. But how do we talk a lot about on the ice or on the court or the field, but how do we teach it off the ice? And the biggest thing that I think is that volunteering. There's a million things you can do in your community and tons of ways to get involved. And I think it's a great way to teach humility and to help our athletes think of others more than themselves. One example of something that we do is we have a group of people in our community that put together hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of food boxes at Christmas time for families who need them, less fortunate families. And one thing that we do is that we go on a Friday night and practice right after practice and help pack the boxes, and then Saturday morning we're there if we don't have a game, and then Saturday morning we're right there in the morning, and our guys are delivering these food boxes to people in the community, which is awesome. And it's an eye opener for some of these kids. And I have an assistant coach who went through our program and did this, and now he's with me, and he says that was like the biggest eye opener for me of what other people will go through, because a lot of times, at least in my area, hockey is more of an affluent sport. These kids aren't dealing with as many struggles as some of their peers are, and to see that is a big thing. So ask your principal, contact Salvation Army, Food Shelf, Habitat Humanity, whoever. Just get your athletes out there. I think it's really important to do. Nick Vujicic is an amazing person. I included a link here with his talk on humility, and what a great perspective from that. So if you want to click on that and watch that, you can. It's a great message that, not only for our athletes, but just for adults in general on humility. In closing, I think it's our responsibility as coaches to not only practice humility in our daily lives, but also to help to kind of cultivate it in our athletes. This is not going to something that happens overnight. You're going to have players who are me first, and it might take you 3 years to get to them, and try to cultivate some of that humility in them, and you might never get there. But I ask myself 2 questions all the time. How do I want to be remembered, and how will I be remembered? And I want to be remembered as somebody who help turn players not only into better athletes and to better hockey players, but better people in general. So, again, humility, thinking less of yourself, or thinking of yourself less and thinking of others more. Huge character quality, and one of my favorites. So that's all I have today. Have a great day.